Hello, and thanks for joining the session, How to Fix Deeply Broken Digital Marketing Data. My name is Miles Younger. I'm Senior Director, Go-to-Market with the Data.Monks team. I've got about 17 years in digital advertising and marketing, 4 of those at MediaMonks and Mighty Hive. And previous to that, I built an independent DCO platform called Can Banners, which gave me more exposure to messy digital ads data than honestly I ever could have wanted. And lastly, you can follow me on Twitter if you want. I'm Miles_Younger. And before I begin, Data.Monks is the team at MediaMonks that helps brands bring their marketing, advertising, and consumer data to life. And we work with some of the world's biggest brands. You can see some of our esteemed clients here, a few of which I'm going to talk about today. You can learn more at media.monks.com or contact us at data@mediamonks.com. So let's begin. For 25 years, basically since the advent of the internet, brands have been trying to tame digital marketing data, but everyone is largely still struggling. Now, why is that? Technology hasn't been the magic solution we thought it would be. And as we'll learn in a moment, marketers actually have more tech than ever. And even though data is just ones and zeros, there is still a tremendous amount of ambiguity as to what the truth is. And lastly, so-called real-time marketing has also been elusive. For many digital marketers, simple reports and campaign adjustments can still take weeks, if not longer. And so, again, this all begs the question, why? Can we figure out what's causing these challenges and frustrations and maybe figure out some solutions? So we are going to do this in 3 steps. First, we're going to dig deeper into the problems with digital marketing data. Second, see if we can learn something by changing our perspective. And lastly, point to some durable solutions that are working for brands today. So let's get started digging into the problem. And the news is bad. As we can see in a recent headline from the drum on the left, CMO tenure continues to decline. It's now at just 40 months, just a little over 3 years. So if data-driven marketing is supposed to be some kind of CMO superpower, clearly it's not working as well as it should. And taking a look to the right, to make matters worse, a CMO Council study found that fewer than 1 in 4 CMOs have a very effective working relationship with their CIO partners on the IT side. Now, as more and more of marketing revolves around data and technology, this lack of a strong marketing and IT relationship is not a good sign. And to make matters worse, the news isn't just bad, the news is really bad. On the left, one study from Forrester found that marketers estimated that 21% of media budgets are wasted due to poor quality data. That's an incredible tax to be paying for broken data. And on the right, a 2020 study by the ISBA in the UK had similar findings. 15% of programmatic spend just vanished into thin air. And this was after over a year of PricewaterhouseCoopers auditors studying the data. This would be like going through all your bank statements and finding that 15% of your money just vanished without a trace. So if programmatic advertising data is indecipherable to professional auditors, how reliable is the data at all? And this is all despite marketers spending more on tech than ever. So clearly a lack of tech isn't the problem. Or looking at it another way, growth in tech spending by marketers is not correlated with better data. All right, so digital marketing and digital marketing data aren't perfect. But how much does broken marketing data really matter? Here's a recent quote from the drum. In some ways, you could say data is the whole ball game. Here, Coca-Cola wants to, quote, make sure that they're capturing all the data assimilating it and deploying it in the marketplace so they can get the most effective result. Maybe Coca-Cola doesn't want to wake up one day and find out that 15 cents of every dollar in the digital budget just went poof due to broken data. Another household name, Procter & Gamble's Mark Pritchard predicts that all ads will eventually involve some form of digital. Now, it's hard to argue with that prediction. And anything digital is data. There's no distinction to be made there. If all ads are data, then data matters. And the numbers agree with Pritchard's prediction. By 2024, eMarketer estimates that less than 1/3 of ad spend will be non-digital. The non-digital parts of marketing and advertising are shrinking fast. And broken data ruins everything. Reporting is never accurate. Data takes too long to access. Budgets are wasted. Different teams, all with their own sources of truth, and so forth. So the stakes are basically this: bad data equals bad marketing, period. Now, broken digital marketing data is a problem with enormous consequences. Technology alone doesn't seem to be a silver bullet, and people have been banging their heads against this problem of broken data basically since the inception of digital marketing 25 years ago. So knowing all that, getting to a solution might require shifting our perspective. So we'll get into our second section here. This is a chart from a 2020 Gartner survey. The results here are kind of funny because whether data is working seems to depend on who you ask. When asked about the impact of analytics, which is based off of data, senior marketing leadership expressed disappointment. Meanwhile, mid-level marketing managers were mostly positive. So that's pretty funny. It's the same question, yet very different answers depending on who was asked. So here's the thing. Why don't we see what happens when we turn our senior leaders and our mid-level managers into an org chart? So at the top, we have the CMO and marketing leadership, and they are not happy. And then under them, we have a bunch of teams led by mid-level managers, all saying that things are pretty much okay. And remember, this is basically what the survey result is telling us. Senior leaders unhappy, mid-level managers more positive. So something is breaking along the way. Down in the trenches, things seem okay, but go up to 50,000 feet and there is disappointment. So for fun, let's zoom out a little bit. All right, so what's further down in our hypothetical org chart? Well, there are probably a bunch of agencies all saying that everything's fine. And then you have some ad tech, MarTech, and SaaS platforms all showing great results, I'm sure. And lastly, maybe you have a consultancy or two, saying that the strategy is working out great. And now remember, at the tippy top of this pyramid, we have a disappointed leadership team and a CMO with a shrinking tenure. So maybe you're starting to see where I'm going with this, but let's zoom out just a little bit more. So what's left under all the partners? That's right, people, consumers, millions upon millions of digital marketing exposures. For the world's largest consumer brands, we could be talking billions of data points per day. And a lot can go wrong between the bottom of this pyramid and the top. Between when a consumer sees an ad or opens an app and when the CMO is trying to evaluate performance or set strategy, a whole lot can go wrong with the data. But to simplify things a little bit more, let's turn our pyramid into just a straight line. So here's our line. Now, at one end of the line, we have all that raw data from consumer exposures to marketing campaigns. This means ad impressions, website visits, searches, and so forth. At the other end of the line, we have all that data being sent into the engines of digital marketing and advertising, the reporting, analytics, and decisioning systems. However, a lot can happen between those 2 points. There is a long list of seemingly isolated things that can go wrong, dozens of possible weakest link problems as data passes through teams, systems, and agency partners. Problems like inconsistent naming conventions for data, teams that don't talk to each other, lack of data access rights, or inconsistent data granularity where log level data is lumped together with aggregate data. Now, when you add up the cumulative effect of these problems, you can begin to see why digital marketing data is so broken. It becomes pretty unsurprising. So, what does this feel like from a marketer's perspective? Now, AdExchanger put this especially well in a recent article, I thought, saying all these problems felt, quote, like a scene out of Terry Gilliam's movie Brazil. Now, if you've never seen the movie, and I recommend you do if you haven't seen it, it's a great movie. Brazil is a really weird film where the protagonist lives in this depressing world filled with surreal bureaucracy. And so in the AdExchanger article, John Halverson, Mondelez Global VP of Consumer Experience, described the process of accessing Mondelez's own advertising data. It says, quote, first, Halverson would have to email his Google rep. Then his Google rep would email Mondelez's agency. Then the agency would have to get approval from Mondelez to release the data, and so forth. So it sounds absurd when it's written down like this, but for any marketers watching, this type of dysfunction probably isn't news to you, and you probably have war stories of your own like this. And we will get back to Mondelez in a minute, actually, and see how they are going about solving these issues. So what can we take away from all this? What can we take away from this new perspective we've built about the underlying causes of broken digital marketing data? Firstly, these basic weakest link problems are standing in the way of brands getting the full value of their marketing and advertising data. Secondly, a completely chaotic array of teams, technologies, and agencies are not able to come together and coordinate solutions to all these weakest link problems. And thirdly, this causes a domino effect where simple problems or barriers in one part of the data chain of custody, if you will, end up breaking everything that comes later in the process. So I saved the best part for last: solutions to the problem of broken marketing data. So let's take a look at these. And brands and marketers are actually solving these problems, and we can point to 3 specific ways they're doing it. Firstly, they're taking control of data and technology. They're renegotiating intermediary relationships with agencies and tech partners and gaining unrestricted access to their own marketing and advertising data. Secondly, they're establishing and enforcing strong data standards and taking data governance and data quality very seriously. And lastly, they're bringing data together. They're not leaving digital marketing data dispersed across dozens or hundreds of systems, teams, and agency partners. So let's take a look at a real-world example for each of these. First, for taking control of data and technology, we will look at Sprint as a literal textbook case of this. And I say, quote, literal textbook case because it's a Harvard Business School case study. Sprint took media buying in-house and in the process regained control of its advertising data. Now, the results were pretty dramatic. Direct access to ads data allowed Sprint to eliminate waste and improve campaign effectiveness. Conversions almost doubled on a 13% drop in ad spend. Now, the obvious question to ask is, what kind of waste is hiding in your broken data? And The last thing I'll say before we move on from this one is the case study, by the way, is available for purchase from the Harvard Business School website. I highly recommend grabbing it. It's pretty interesting. It goes into a lot of depth. Now, next, we will look at Bayer, who also went in-house. And they exemplify a very strong plan for data standards, data quality, and data governance. This is critical because marketers and marketing data scientists everywhere spend inordinate amounts of time cleaning up messy data sets. So it's actually a very important problem to solve. And on a webinar, Jeff Rasp, VP Digital Platforms, Channels, and Capabilities at Bayer, put it this way. He said, I can't underscore this enough. It's not build data standards and they will come. It's build it and you better put the time in to ensure a governance model. This came from a recent episode of the Live with Mighty Hive webinar series, which I would highly recommend checking out. Jeff Rasp is a pretty interesting guy. And likewise, Bayer has seen impressive results. They've seen a 35% increase in campaign efficiency, in part due to establishing better data standards and data governance. Now, lastly, we will look at Mondelez. So getting back to Mondelez here, they've made impressive progress unifying marketing data in the cloud for centralized analysis. So previously, analysis could only be done in respective data silos, which of course is a major barrier to strategic planning and decision-making because you can never see the full picture. Now, marketers and decision makers at Mondelez can access data from 37 brands in 150 countries from a set of centralized, standardized data warehouses in the cloud. And once again, the results are impressive. Global ROI is up roughly 70% since 2017 when the effort first took shape. And you can read about the approach Mondelez took to unifying its marketing data in an official case study on the Google Cloud Platform website. It's pretty interesting. So as we're wrapping up, I will note that if getting access to your own marketing data, standardizing it, and de-siloing it doesn't sound like rocket science, it's because it isn't. As we've seen, the underlying causes aren't rocket science type problems, so it makes sense that the solutions aren't rocket science either. But that doesn't mean it's easy. So I will leave you with this quote from John Halverson of Mondelez. He said, you need to take the time, do the work, and be in the trenches. But once the foundation is built, brands can start to get more sophisticated in the way they use data. So this is basically the moral of the story. Build a better foundation, get better data, get better results. And that's all for now. On behalf of Media Monks, thank you very much for your time. I hope it was enlightening. If you want to learn more, go to media.monks.com or contact us at data@mediamonks.com. And we look forward to hearing from you. Thank you.